All right, a little update on the Breezemaker Lasco, the 4-blade dealie on the stand. I've been running it. It runs nice and quiet. I mean, it's a cool fan, but since it's run a few times and heated up, it's begun to bound up a little bit. I took the blades off last night, and I tapped the shaft again, and I actually tapped the motor housing to see if it would settle. Here you'll see, like, that should spin a little longer for a freshly oiled fan, and then when I spin the other direction, it comes to a stop even quicker. So it's binding up a little bit. It might not be binding, it might just be bad oil from the felts. I oiled on the felts in there when I had the motor apart, but it could be now that it's heating up, the old oil that's in there with that awful felt stuff is mixing, and so we might have to take this apart a few times and clean the oil off the shaft and see if we can get it to stay. There is a video of a guy who restored one of these fans. The guy wasn't a fan restorer, he was just somebody fixing an old fan, and what he did was he drilled out the rivets and took apart the entire oiling system and put a new, there's like a spring inside that holds the original spongy felt thing in, and he took all that out and used a sponge and made his own sponges and put it all back together using little screws and bolts in place of the rivets he drilled out. I'm not going to do all that, and ultimately, his fan didn't end up with an amazing spin down either, so I'm not sure if that's related. I expected this, because when we first did this, it was very, very free and spun a lot. So I think it's just that the bad oil is mixing with the new oil I put in, and we'll see. We'll try it a few, we might have to take this apart a few times over the summer and see what happens with it. Because it really is, obviously, it's a great looker, and it sounds nice. It moves good air. The air's kind of diffused. It doesn't blow the air really straight. The air kind of goes out to the sides, but otherwise, it's a good fan, especially because it's nice and quiet on low. So I'd like to see this work. It's not heating up crazy, and it's running the right, running on the right specs electronically. So electrolytically, whatever the hell, whatever you say. Hey, forget about it. Anyway, so I'm gonna pull this off the stand, pull the blades off, and let's see what's going on. Alright, so I took the motor off of the casing, and it turned out that I don't know, it seems like perhaps the problem was that I don't know, that still doesn't seem so great. If I go the other way, yeah, a little better. I might have over-tightened the motor housing a little bit. Some of these fans, if you over-tighten the housing, it binds up. So I loosened it up a little bit. I didn't take the motor apart, really. I just loosened them up, 1/8 of a turn until it seemed to free up a little better. And maybe the heat, when it finally warmed up, when we finally really used it, I don't know. We still might. I have a feeling we're going to have this fan apart a few times. But let's run it today, and we'll see how she does. It's not always easy to show in the videos, but this thing really shakes a lot without the grills on it. The grills really offer a lot of structural rigidity. It's very funny. Alright, we'll let it warm up. See what happens. Alright. So here it is running. It makes a little funny rattling noise, and I eventually figured out it's these things that don't make noise when it's in the stand. It's on low. Let's see how it spins down. A little better. Here's the spin down from high. It's funny, the fan's so light it really wants to blow itself over if it's not on a flat surface. So that's okay, Now let's go to the heat gun. 87 degrees out today, and we'll go to the motor. Yeah, 130-ish. About what you expect for a vintage motor. Let's see what it's running on the draw. So here's something kind of interesting. I never really looked closely at this. Sorry, you're not focused. focus, buddy. So we got model 4737, but it tells us, I think that's 2.8 amp or something. We'll look at the motor. But we have a date here, 5/63. Look at that, 1963 for this guy. Let's take a look at the motor. Now this is rated for 2.5 at 115. Now we got 121.3 coming into the house. Let's see how it runs on high. I gotta hold the fan so it doesn't blow itself over. So it's running about 2.85. Let's see what it does on low. Take it down to low, and it comes down to 1.1.5, 1.6. Run back to high. 2.8. Which probably, you know, represents being a little over spec coming into the house here, and on top of which it's really rated for 115 because this was made back in 1963. So yeah, cool fan. I wish that spun down a little better. You know, I'm gonna put it back on the stand and run it a few more times. It seems a little bitter since I loosened the motor up a little bit with the bolts. So, you know, that might not really be the answer. The answer might really be to pull this apart and clean the oil. We might have to do that a few times, clean the oil off the shaft, because if I put good oil on top of bad oil in the sponges, that bad oil is going to keep coming out. So that might be a recurring problem with this. It was pretty much stuck when we got it. That's why I got it so cheap. The guy wanted $50 for it, and it was stuck to the touch. It didn't move at all. You know, I turned it on, it just buzzed. So I said, I think I gave him 25 for it. It was the lowest I could get him on it. But, you know, we might have to pull that motor a few times. I don't plan to do the whole thing where that guy drilled the rivets out, and I just don't plan to do all that to this machine. Let's see. We had another RMR motor, the little, we have two more RMR motors in some of these fans. We got this one here, which was the 4-blade Senac, which is the earlier Lasco than this. And then I have the Galaxy, which is close to this one, the Grandpa fan. Never did anything with that one. Maybe we'll pull that Lasco. That's got an RMR motor as well. So maybe we'll do that one this year. It's one of the fans we never actually got to. You know, that was a fan I bought and didn't want to work on it right away, so I started buying other fans, and now I have so many fans, and I never actually worked on that first Galaxy. I was mostly worried about this here, this braided sort of half-ass wiring harness, but this turned out to not be too hard and flexible enough to move the motor around, so hopefully the other one is like that. We'll see. But you know, it's about the same. I don't know if that's any better, you know, and it might not get any better, but we'll keep an eye on it, and maybe I'll clean the oil off the bearing, and we might have to do that a few times. We'll see. So that's the deal. Galaxy 4-blade, 1963. Interesting to know the year. Sure looks it, doesn't it? 63. All right. Thanks for watching, y'all. Fan videos, more to come. Summertime. All right.